I never thought I'd wake up to find a $600 hotel charge on my credit card for a stay I never booked under my own name with a woman I'd never met. And somehow the person behind it all was my HOA president. Yeah, my HOA president. What started as petty citations and neighborly reminders turned into full-blown fraud, trespassing, and eventually, an arrest. When I first moved into Willow Creek Estates, it felt like the dream. Quiet streets, trimmed lawns, a little lake at the end of the cul-de-sac. The realtor kept saying words like secure and exclusive, like we were entering some sort of suburban utopia. I should have known those were just code words for run by a control freak with a clipboard. Her name was Karen Winters. Of course it was. I met her the morning after I moved in. I was barely awake, still surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, when she strutted up my driveway like she owned the place, holding a bright yellow slip of paper. "Your garbage can is visible from the street," she said, voice tight and precise like she was reading from a script. "That's a violation of Section 4.3. I blinked, said, "Oh, sorry," and dragged the trash can inside the garage. I thought that was the end of it. But by the end of my first week, I'd already been cited 3 times, once for watering my lawn excessively, once for parking my work truck in my own driveway longer than 6 hours, and once for an unapproved doormat color. The mat was beige. Beige. I laughed it off at first because seriously, how bad could it get? Turns out very. A few days later, during one of her inspections, Karen casually mentioned her niece was moving to town. She might need a temporary place to stay, she said, eyeing my house like she was mentally dividing up the rooms. "You've got plenty of space, right?" I smiled politely. "Yeah, but I'm not looking to rent out rooms." I thought that was clear enough. Apparently not. Fast forward to last week. I was at work when my phone buzzed motion alert from my Ring camera. I opened the feed and saw a woman in her mid-20s pounding on my front door like she was trying to break it down. "Hello? I know you're in there," Aunt Karen said. "I could stay here. I need the door code." I didn't know who the hell she was. But later that day, my neighbor Jim told me she'd stopped by his house too, ranting about how Greg promised to let me stay, and when he told her I wasn't home, she'd snapped. Then he can pay for my hotel, and sped off in a shiny BMW with out-of-state plates. I got home that night, still trying to figure out what on earth had just happened. Then the doorbell rang. Standing there was Karen, smiling that tight, fake smile, holding a folder. "Gregory," she started, her tone sticky sweet. "Since you failed to honor our arrangement, the HOA board has determined you're financially responsible for Melissa's hotel stay." I blinked. "Wait, what?" She shoved a paper into my hand. "You'll find the invoice inside. $600. We expect payment within 48 hours to avoid further penalties." "Karen," I said slowly, because my patience was hanging by a thread. "There was never any arrangement. I never agreed to host your niece." Her expression shifted in an instant. "We discussed this," she snapped. "When I came by about your landscaping, you said, and I quote, 'that would be fine.' The board has already approved this." I clenched my jaw. "Then I'll need to see the minutes from that meeting, and I'll be contacting the board president directly." She smirked. "I am the board president." Then with a huff she added, "Verbal agreements with HOA officials are binding. It's in the bylaws." She spun around and stormed off, heels clacking against the pavement like punctuation marks of arrogance. When she was gone, I just stood there stunned. For a second, I even wondered if maybe I had said something that could be twisted that way. Did she really believe this, or was she just making it up? That night, I sat on the couch replaying everything in my head, the way you do when you're trying to figure out how things spiraled so far. I opened my security app and started reviewing footage from the past few weeks. That's when I saw her, the niece Melissa. Not just once, 3 times. The first time she circled the house, peering through my windows like she was casing the place. The second, she tried the garage keypad. The third, she went for my lockbox, punching in random codes like she thought she could crack it. My stomach turned. This wasn't just HOA harassment anymore. This was criminal. I called the non-emergency police line and laid out the whole thing, the fake hotel charge, the forged agreement, the attempted break-in. The dispatcher told me an officer would follow up soon. Then I wrote an email to the entire HOA board, every member but Karen, detailing everything. I attached screenshots, video stills, and the bogus invoice she'd given me. Within an hour, my inbox exploded. 3 board members replied almost instantly, each one saying they'd never heard of any arrangement. Then my phone rang. It was Thomas Chin, the HOA treasurer. "Greg," he said, voice low. "I'm so sorry this is happening. Karen's been overstepping for a while, but this is serious. We're calling an emergency meeting tonight. In the meantime, you should file a police report about the fraud." I hung up, still shaking. My quiet suburban escape had turned into a nightmare. The next morning, I was working from home when I noticed flashing lights outside. 2 police cruisers parked right in front of Karen's house. I peered through the blinds, heart racing. She was on her porch, gesturing wildly, face pale and frantic. 20 minutes later, the officers walked up my driveway. "Mr. Patterson." One of them said, a woman in uniform. "We've spoken with Mrs. Winters and her niece regarding the incidents you reported. Based on the evidence you provided and their statements, we're moving forward with charges." I blinked. "Charges? As in? They're being arrested?" "Yes, sir," she said firmly. "Mrs. Winters is being charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, impersonating an HOA official for financial gain, and filing false documents. Her niece is facing charges of attempted trespassing, credit card fraud, and filing a false police report." "A false police report," I repeated. The male officer chuckled. "Apparently she tried to claim you discriminated against her in housing. But that didn't go over well once we showed the sergeant your security footage." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After weeks of feeling powerless, someone was finally doing something. That afternoon, the HOA held its emergency meeting. Practically the entire neighborhood showed up. People murmured, eyes darting toward me, toward the empty chair where Karen usually sat. Thomas Chin stood at the podium with a microphone. Effective immediately, he announced, "Karen Winters has been removed from the HOA board and permanently banned from holding any official position. We've discovered multiple cases where she acted without board approval, issued fake violations, and collected unauthorized fines. All recent citations will be reviewed and likely dismissed." The room erupted, gasps, whispers, even a few relieved laughs. For the first time since I'd moved in, I actually felt the neighborhood exhale. I wish I could say that was the end. But a few months later, I got a call from the county clerk's office. Turns out Karen and Melissa's case had gone to trial. I didn't attend, but when the verdict came out, the entire HOA email thread lit up. Karen was sentenced to 18 months of probation, fined $5,000, and ordered to complete 200 hours of community service. The judge, apparently familiar with her style, noted this wasn't her first time abusing HOA authority. Melissa didn't get off easy, either 6 months in county jail, 3 years probation, full restitution of all fraudulent charges. When they were led out of court, someone said, Karen muttered, "This is all a misunderstanding. Don't you know who I am?" before the doors closed behind her. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even smile. I just stood on my porch that evening watching the sunset spill over my yard, finally quiet. For the first time since moving here, it felt like my home again, not some battleground of petty rules and power trips. It's funny. When you buy into one of these perfect neighborhoods, they sell you the dream of order and safety. But what they don't tell you is how easily that power can twist, how one person's obsession with control can turn the whole system rotten. If I learned anything from this mess, it's this: silence only feeds bullies. When someone crosses your line, stand your ground, because sometimes the only way to protect your peace is to fight for it.